just point out, too, that how often do you hear from this administration or from, in Washington in general, that an investigation gets closed? Most of the time, it just kind of fizzles. It goes away. But this one, just like that, the Secret Service has, it's closed. The investigation's over. So, yeah, it is closed. And they apparently just didn't have enough evidence to identify a suspect in this case. And, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, he was also in that briefing that you just mentioned a moment ago that Lauren Boebert was in. And he recorded a video after he left that meeting. And you could just hear the disappointment and the frustration in his voice. He calls this a cover-up. Listen here.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett just left the most ridiculous meeting of all time with the Secret Service over the cocaine that was found in the White House. So it turns out they don't know who did it. The investigation's going to be over at the end of the week, and they're not going to find out who did it. And that's basically it. Another cover-up. It's the most secure building in the entire world. You can't go in there. They have facial identification. You got to give your social security number. Nobody, even the press, nobody goes in there without them knowing. This is a bad look on the Secret Service and a horrible look on this White House. So more cover-ups continue.
So the Secret Service issued a statement yesterday saying it compiled a list of several hundred people who may have accessed the area where the drugs were found, but the FBI could not detect any fingerprints or DNA on the baggie the cocaine was in, thus making it impossible for the Secret Service to tie that bag to one of the individuals on its list. Now, security camera video was apparently reviewed as well, but there was no footage that produced investigative leads, according to the agency. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy reacting to the predictable outcome yesterday as well.
What I don't believe is how can they not answer the question? I think I'm saying the same thing every other American is answering. It's in a cubbyhole in the White House by the Situation Room, and you can't tell me who put it there?
Now, a lot of people, including many members of Congress, are just having a difficult time believing that someone can mosey on into one of the most secure buildings on the planet, drop a bag of white powdery substance, and walk away undetected. What if that had been anthrax or some kind of bioweapon? Would the Secret Service have identified the suspect in that situation? If not, what does that say to our enemies? What security flaws are enabling a significant breach like this? A lot of questions are left unanswered here. However, I think most reasonable Americans are looking at this and acknowledging the elephant in the room. You've got the 53-year-old son of the president, Hunter Biden, who is rumored to be living at the White House. He's on video repeatedly smoking crack cocaine, a long history of drug abuse. He's left behind a laptop. He's left behind a gun. He's left behind a 4-year-old daughter in Arkansas. Did he leave his cocaine behind, too, before leaving for Camp David back on July 4th weekend? Unfortunately, we may never know, but as Congressman Burchett alleged, this smells more like a cover-up than it does a security breach, guys.
It's incredible because we're watching people in real time talking in both chats, and we can't believe that this is
trying to figure out Rumble
pushed
right
out
now.
there. Let's bring in Terrence as well. Terrence, I'm going to put up what President Trump said on Truth Social and give you and everyone a chance. It has just been announced that the quote-unquote investigation, he says, of cocaine in the White House has ended, despite all the cameras pointing directly at the scene of the crime. And the greatest forensics anywhere in the world, they just can't figure it out. They know the answer, and so does everyone else. In the meantime, they continue to target and investigate me for years in what has been called the greatest witch hunt of all time over nothing. Election interference and a two-tier level of justice.
Two-tier level of justice. I mean, that's all you have to say. Everybody knows that's true. That's true right now. You can't avoid it.
Terrence?
Carolyn, it's funny. I was listening to your reporting, and you said, how could someone just mosey into the White House with a bag of drugs? I submit that whoever the suspect is probably was skipping or was fairly high-spirited. I'm just going to put that out there. He's probably fairly high-spirited.
They were running at full speed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. Clay Travis had this to say. The Secret Service just announced he's at Outkick. It has concluded its investigation of the cocaine, says it can't determine who brought it there. Your federal government will now resume, Karen, its true focus, putting your grandma in prison for January 6th.
Oh, very well said, Clay.
Carolyn, when you think about the focus, not just two tiers of justice, but what the Biden Justice Department will focus on. Yesterday, we reported that they're no longer making it a huge priority to deal with child sex trafficking, and they've taken some of that stuff off the website. And yet they'll lock up all kinds of people over January 6th, months and months and years later. And yet they also can't figure out the cocaine in the White House. It's about priorities as well, it seems.
No, it is. It's absolutely about priorities. And they unfortunately have the cover of the media because the media is playing dumb here. This gives them a great opportunity to move right along, to not address this, to say case closed, and do the bidding there. They refused, or they're pretending not to see the obvious here. You know, Dan Bongino is a former Secret Service agent. He's been super outspoken about this, and he is saying anybody who goes through the West Wing, it goes through a checkpoint. Each and every single person goes through a checkpoint. They're rigorously checked, right? I mean, your body's checked, your bags, your backpacks, everything's checked. The only people who aren't checked going into the White House are the family members and protectees. So, I mean, you do the math. You do the math there on who
family members.
Yeah. That's right.
Family members are not checked.
This is ridiculous.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Lauren Boebert, I mentioned this a moment ago, put it up. This is on Trending Politics. Came out of a briefing to reveal the Secret Service says, behind closed doors, we didn't hear this publicly, there were at least 2 more occasions in recent months where banned substances were found inside the White House. Now, I read the details, and they claim, at least, that it was small amounts of marijuana that were found the previous time. Still a serious issue. And they say their justification for not pursuing it is that D.C., like New York and other places, they've sort of decriminalized it. But my question, Carolyn, is since they couldn't figure out who was behind the cocaine this time, can we even believe that it was only marijuana? It wasn't cocaine or something like that? How do we know? We never heard about these 2 previous occasions. So who knows what they found?
You can't trust them with anything at all.
No.
Carolyn?
No, you can't. And how about the fact that this story with the cocaine has changed multiple times? Let's continue to acknowledge that, because initially this cocaine was found in the East Wing in the library, and then the story changed within 24 hours, and it was found in a high-trafficked area in the West Wing. Then it was found in a cubbyhole. Then it was found closer to the Situation Room. So that story changed over time. Who authorized the change in that story and why? So no, to your point, we cannot trust what is coming out of this White House. The bottom line, what we know for sure, is that there are drugs 3 times now, 3 instances of drugs being found in this White House. You have topless transgender activists on the South Lawn of the White House. This is just a mockery being made of the people's house.